I've heard it said that there could be a spooky skeleton hiding in every one of us. What is the scariest theory known to man? What's up, Pretendo? Thanks for coming to another storytime with your favorite narrator, Andrew. It's so good to see you. Can you do me a favor, bro? Can you like the video and subscribe? I wouldn't want to miss any more storytimes with you. If you do, I'll send you another stimulus check. Let's get into the video. We are actually the most advanced beings in the universe right now, and the fear of invading aliens taking our planet for resources is actually just the fear of what we will become. That any computer to be able to pass the Turing test would also be able to see that it would be a bad thing to do so. That there could be a machine right now that could act as a human, but is also intelligent enough to know not to let us know it could. John Douglas, a former chief of the FBI's elite serial crime unit and author of Mindhunter, says, a very conservative estimate is that there are between 35 and 50 active serial killers in the United States at any given time. The scary robo-basilisk thingy. The idea that if we don't help an AI to be made now, when it is made it will punish those who didn't help it and punish the ones who knew about it and decided not to help it more. So if you're reading this, you could get more ducked by a robot. Virtually all of mankind's fears, falling, spiders, etc., are based on things that were threatening to our ancestors. So keeping this in mind, why do so many of our images of monsters and demons look the same? Definitely the great filter theory, as it makes us look like naive simpletons merrily rowing towards the edge of Niagara Falls, singing all the way. There's something extremely frightening about hubris, especially on a species-wide level. The thing with this theory is that it's extremely elegant and straightforward. This raises the fright-o-meter considerably, too. That we live in a simulation. It's not hard to believe that one day we will be able to create a simulated world. Probably more than one, maybe hundreds. Maybe our simulated worlds will become advanced enough to make their own simulated worlds, and so on. We might be living in a simulated world. We could be living in the simulated world of a simulated world. The general concept that we never really die in our perspective. Each time we encounter a situation where we may die, we continue on in a parallel universe where something happens that prevents our death. But we die in the original universe. Essentially, our consciousness lives on by transferring itself to a parallel universe where we continue to exist, so we effectively live forever. I'm forgetting the name of the theory right now, but the theory follows something along the lines of this. The sole reason for every single human achievement throughout history is due to our innate and deep fear of death. We are beings that think beyond just instinct and understand that everyone human will cease to exist. This fear of non-existence has driven us to create everything we have made today. Akin to the opposite of the will to power theory in psychology. There is a theory which states that if ever anyone discovers exactly what the universe is for and why it is here, it will instantly disappear and be replaced by something even more bizarre and inexplicable. There is another theory which states that this has already happened. Douglas Adams. That, should we destroy civilization, there are not enough fossil fuels in easily reachable places for any subsequent society to achieve an industrial revolution. We mined most of it, and the only stuff that's left requires modern technology to reach. We're all she wrote. If we duck up, there's no coming back from it. There's a theory that our universe is in a false vacuum that will eventually collapse and completely destroy or ultimately alter our universe. That would mean that no matter how far we develop, no matter how many planets we'll settle, and no matter how many medical feats humanity will have accomplished, we would have a deadline where we would be forever deleted. For me, it's solipsism. Easiest way to explain it is with a quote from Wiki Solipsism, the philosophical idea that only one's own mind is sure to exist. As an epistemological position, solipsism holds that knowledge of anything outside one's own mind is unsure. The external world and other minds cannot be known and might not exist outside the mind. As a metaphysical position, solipsism goes further to the conclusion that the world and other minds do not exist. Basically, every person you see, including family and friends, are possibly figments of your imagination, and you can never know for sure. The brain in a vat theory. The brain in a vat is an element used in a variety of thought experiments intended to draw out certain features of our ideas of knowledge, reality, truth, mind and meaning. It assumes the following: that the brain is the origin of all consciousness. The brain operates on electrical impulses. External stimuli can affect the way the brain operates. Any external stimuli to the brain can be simulated to a degree that the brain cannot distinguish these simulated stimuli from natural stimuli. The point is that you could be a brain in a jar, being fed false impulses for your entire life by an external source, or you, still a brain in a jar, could be hallucinating your entire life from lack of stimuli. I think the lack of alien contact is more explainable by the sheer distance between stars and galaxies, our limited scientific ability to detect life outside of our own solar system, and the fact that more advanced life would have very little reason to contact us. I mean, all we're going on is that most people haven't met an alien in person or seen one on TV internet they believe is credible, and CD has not received a convincing radio signal. Maybe alien cultures just have better things to do than communicate with what they see as ants, and our planet has nothing worth coming here for, or they respect the Prime Directive. The Berenstein Bears Theory. Go to your mom's house sometime and take a look at all those old books, and you'll see that the name is, and has always been, Berenstain, with an A. Don't you feel stupid now for misreading it throughout your whole childhood? Well, one theory states that the Berenstein-Berenstain dilemma is a small side effect of our universe, intersecting with a parallel dimension sometime in the 90s, and everyone who remembers the bear's original surname are experiencing residual memories from another dimension. The first time I heard this I thought I was crazy because I distinctly remembered the original spelling with an E, because I always pronounced it Berenstein. Edit. To those writing off the spelling difference as a careless discrepancy between publishers, the books were not named for the bears themselves, but rather for the authors Stan and Jan Berenstein, or Berenstain, depending on which dimension you lived in. Which means one effect of the dimensional shift that supposedly happened only a few years ago was the altering of the Berenstein family name at some point in the past. Those who remember the name with an A are simply remembering the new timeline. Not really a theory, but what scares me is that our morals adapt to situations. Situations change, so do our beliefs and values. For example, take Hypatia. She was a mathematician and the last curator of the Great Library of Alexandria. She was murdered by Christian fundamentalists in 415 AD, along with many Jews. The library was destroyed, the books burned, and an untold amount of human knowledge was lost as the Dark Ages began. Egypt never fully recovered. So we went from a society with rights for women and different religious traditions to the fundamentalism, violence, and institutionalized feudal inequality that typified the medieval world. We were better, and we lost it for at least 1,000 years. Our values today, like equality between men and women of different races, religious tolerance, free markets, freedom of speech and faith, all these are contingent on the times we live in. I don't want to make it sound like a paradise, we still have work to do for full equality of opportunity, but it is undeniable that we live far, far better than most of our ancestors. Having a toilet and indoor heating puts you ahead of most historical kings of Europe and China in terms of comfort and wealth. And with our wealth comes freedom as well. If climate change has the nasty impacts that it looks like it is bringing, we could lose these. Our daughters could be locked away from science and business careers only because they are women. They could be locked in loveless marriages and raped with no recourse to security. We could be discriminated by race in formal, institutionalized ways once again. Slavery could return, with its many evils. We could be denied freedom of speech, faith, or even travel by repressive regimes. Our grandchildren could walk by the remains of bridges and buildings and wonder what giants built that. In short, what we consider values today could be considered unattainable and possibly unthinkable luxuries by our descendants. Edit. I'm genuinely surprised by how many folks don't consider the Dark Ages as a real phenomenon. It isn't just a history discussion, there are environmental indications for changed conditions, including forests expanding over former agricultural land, a drop in farmed land overall, and evidence for nastier climate. I get that Dark Ages is a loaded term, but in the context of antiquity, literacy, writing, mathematics, and the early medieval era, decreased farmland, depopulation, migration, there is a real change in how people lived. I guess we can characterize the shift from farming and urban areas to mobility as innovation, but I think that is stretching it. A lot of the events that folks are citing as evidence for lack of a dark age, Islamic science, Byzantine Empire, either happened centuries later or are overblown. Byzantine Empire lost a lot of territory following the collapse of the Western Roman Empire. Thanks for watching. What did you think of the story time? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more story times.